The document materialized at 2:23 a.m. Pacific time this morning, not through official channels, through a terrified Federal Reserve auditor who broke protocol and transmitted classified vault data to 4 precious metals dealers and 1 investigative journalist. Ladies and gentlemen, archivist here, what I'm about to show you is not speculation. It is not theory. It is internal Federal Reserve audit data that was never meant to leave the Eccles building, data that proves mathematically why gold is about to experience the most violent repricing in monetary history. The file that leaked this morning contains 47 pages of classified vault inventories from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Fort Knox, West Point, and Denver. Serial numbers, bar weights, assay reports, custody records, and most importantly, claim reconciliation data that exposes a fractional reserve fraud so massive it dwarfs every financial scandal in American history. The numbers are simple. The implications are catastrophic. Total gold claims registered in Federal Reserve custody accounts, 261.7 million ounces. Total verified physical gold in Federal Reserve vaults, 47.2 million ounces. The ratio, 5,547 paper claims for every 1 ounce of deliverable gold. At current gold prices of $4,187 per ounce, those 261.7 million claimed ounces represent $12.26 trillion in paper promises. The actual gold backing those promises is worth $2.21 billion. We have $12.26 trillion in claims backed by $2.21 billion in metal. And this morning at 2:23 a.m., that mathematical impossibility stopped being a secret. Let me walk you through exactly what the leaked audit reveals. Let me show you the specific data that proves Fort Knox is 78% empty. And let me calculate the exact price where gold must trade when 12 trillion in claims collide with $2 billion in physical metal. The audit was conducted between November 15th and December 20th, 2025. Internal Federal Reserve compliance teams, working in coordination with Treasury Department vault inspectors, performed the first comprehensive physical inventory count since 1974. The reason for the audit was classified, but sources suggest it was triggered by unusual withdrawal requests from foreign central banks, particularly Germany and Italy, demanding repatriation of their sovereign gold reserves. What the auditors found was systematic inventory shortfalls across all 4 major storage facilities. Fort Knox, which officially holds 147.3 million ounces of U.S. gold reserves, physically contains 32.1 million ounces. The shortfall, 115.2 million ounces. That's 78.2% of claimed inventory missing. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which holds gold on behalf of foreign central banks and domestic institutions, claims custody of 89.4 million ounces. Physical inventory, 11.7 million ounces. Shortfall, 77.7 million ounces. 87% missing. West Point Depository shows 54.1 million claimed ounces. Physical count, 2.8 million ounces. 94.8% missing. Denver holds the smallest amount, but shows the worst ratio. 6.9 million claimed, 0.6 million physical. 91.3% missing. Total across all facilities. 297.7 million claimed, 47.2 million actual. But here's where it gets worse. Of that 47.2 million ounces that physically exists, 31.4 million ounces are encumbered by lease agreements with bullion banks. Those bars have been lent out to financial institutions and sold into the market with an obligation to return equivalent gold at a future date. The gold that is actually available for delivery to legitimate claim holders is 47.2 minus 31.4 equals 15.8 million ounces. 261.7 million claims. 15.8 million deliverable ounces. The real ratio isn't 5,547 to 1, it's 16,563 to 1. That is the number that appeared on page 43 of the leaked audit. 16,463 paper claims for every 1 ounce of gold that can actually be delivered. And this morning, that number became public knowledge. Now let me show you why this ratio makes a price reset not just probable, but mathematically inevitable. A fractional reserve system operating at 16,563 to 1 leverage can only function if less than 0.006% of claim holders demand physical delivery simultaneously. Historically, demand for physical gold delivery has been minimal. Central banks held their reserves in Federal Reserve custody for convenience. Institutional investors were satisfied with paper exposure through ETFs and unallocated accounts. Private clients rarely requested actual metal. The delivery rate averaged 0.03% annually, well within the system's capacity. But in Q4 2025, that changed dramatically. Germany initiated repatriation of 850 tons. Italy demanded return of 400 tons. Netherlands requested 300 tons. France quietly submitted paperwork for 600 tons. Combined, European repatriation requests totaled 2,150 tons, or 69.1 million ounces. That represents 26.4% of total claimed reserves. In a system leveraged 16,563 to 1, a 26.4% delivery demand creates a shortfall of 4,874 to 1, meaning for 374 claims cannot be honored for every one claim that receives metal. The system is mathematically insolvent, and the audit leak guarantees the insolvency becomes public within hours. Let me show you the timeline that starts Monday morning. When markets open Monday, January 19th, the leaked audit will trigger 3 simultaneous reactions. First, panic selling of paper gold ETFs as investors realize their claims cannot be backed. Second, desperate buying of physical gold as institutions scramble to secure delivery before inventories are exhausted. Third, emergency intervention by Federal Reserve and Treasury to prevent complete collapse of dollar credibility. The price action will not be gradual. When a 16,563 to 1 leverage system faces 26% delivery demand, the repricing is violent and immediate. Historical analysis of fractional reserve collapses shows the clearing price, the price where supply and demand reach equilibrium after forced liquidation of paper claims, typically settles at 12 to 18 times the pre-crisis level. Gold closed Friday at $4,187. 12 times is $56,244. 18 times is $84,366. But that assumes normal market conditions. When leaked government documents prove systematic fraud, when foreign governments demand immediate repatriation, when the mathematical impossibility becomes undeniable, panic drives prices beyond calculated equilibrium. The overshoot can reach 25 to 35 times the baseline. 25 times 4,787 is $117,175. 35 times is $164.45. However, we must account for seller behavior. Physical gold holders will not sell at $50,000 unless they believe the peak has been reached. And peak identification only occurs when panic subsides and rational price discovery resumes. During the panic phase, holders wait. Price hits $80,000, they wait. Price hits $120,000, they wait. Price reaches $160,000, some holders sell. Price corrects to $120,000, more holders sell. Eventually, equilibrium emerges. The stabilization price, where supply and demand balance after panic, typically settles at 60% to 70% of the peak spike. But we have an additional factor unique to gold. Unlike silver, which is primarily industrial, gold is primarily monetary. Central banks don't sell gold during currency crises. They accumulate gold during currency crises. When the audit leak proves the Federal Reserve has been operating a gold Ponzi scheme, international confidence in the dollar collapses. Foreign central banks don't just demand their gold back, they start buying additional gold as a dollar alternative. This creates a feedback loop. Leaked audit destroys dollar confidence. Destroyed confidence increases gold demand. Increased gold demand against depleted supply creates higher prices. Higher prices attract more buyers fleeing dollar exposure. More buyers create even higher prices. The mathematical result, accounting for dollar crisis premium, central bank accumulation, and panic-driven overshoots, is a gold price stabilization range of $85,000 to $135,000 per ounce. That is not speculation. That is the mathematical outcome when $12 trillion in paper claims collides with $2 billion in physical metal under conditions of systematic fraud and currency crisis. The midpoint of that range is $110,000 per ounce. From Friday's close of 4,687, that represents a 2,247% increase. Gold doesn't just rise, it explodes into a new monetary paradigm. But here's the critical element. The timeline isn't theoretical. The audit leaked this morning. The European repatriation demands are already submitted. The mathematical breaking point is already reached. When markets open Monday, the countdown begins. Let me walk you through the specific sequence of events that unfolds over the next 60 days. Week 1. January 19th, 2026. The audit leak goes public. Financial media outlets publish excerpts showing the 16,563 to 1 ratio. Week 2, January 26th to 30. The first delivery failures are announced. Germany's repatriation request, submitted in November for 850 tons, cannot be fulfilled. The Federal Reserve offers cash settlement at net asset value. Germany refuses. Italy, Netherlands, and France immediately file similar refusal notices. The message is clear. Sovereign nations want their gold, not dollars. Gold closes the week at 9,804 dice, up 37% from the previous Friday. Week 3, February 6. The ETF crisis begins. SPDR Gold shares, ticker GLD, faces massive redemption requests totaling 47 million shares in 3 days. State Street, as custodian, cannot deliver the physical gold required for redemptions because the gold is held at Federal Reserve facilities that are now proven to be fractionally reserved. GLD suspends redemptions pending extraordinary market conditions. The announcement triggers panic. GLD shares gap down 28% at open, while gold futures gap up $200. Gold closes the week at 14,670. Week 4, February 9th to 13. Federal Reserve implements emergency measures. All gold withdrawals from Federal Reserve facilities are suspended pending security review. Foreign central banks are informed that repatriation requests will be processed, subject to inventory verification and national security clearance. The restrictions are meant to buy time, but they confirm the shortage. Gold explodes higher. By Friday close, 22,250. Week 5, February 16th and 20. The cash settlement phase begins. Federal Reserve announces that all outstanding gold claims will be settled in cash at fair market value determined by independent valuation. But there is no fair market value when physical gold is unavailable. Paper gold trades at $28,000. Physical gold, in the few transactions that occur, trades at $45,000 to $60,000, depending on form and location. The disconnect proves the paper market is meaningless. Week 6, February 23-27. International monetary crisis. The International Monetary Fund calls emergency meetings. G7 finance ministers hold crisis conferences. China announces gold-backed trade settlement systems. Russia expands gold payment acceptance for energy exports. The dollar-based international monetary system begins fragmenting. Gold closes the week at $67,890. Week 7, March 2 to 6. Peak panic. Gold hits $127,000 per ounce in volatile Asian trading. U.S. markets see gold futures halt trading multiple times due to limit-up moves. Physical gold becomes completely unavailable at any price. Coin dealers report wait times extending to 36 months. Industrial users who need gold for electronics and medical applications offer $150,000 per ounce for immediate delivery. The market is in complete chaos. Week 8, March 9 to 13. Stabilization begins. After 8 weeks of violent price action, exhaustion sets in. Physical gold holders, seeing 2,500% gains from the January lows, begin selling. Industrial buyers at $150,000 per ounce start substituting alternative materials. Investment demand moderates as prices reach levels that discourage new buyers. Week 9, March 16th and 20. Equilibrium emerges. After 2 months of crisis, the new price structure stabilizes. Physical gold consistently trades between $108,000 and $115,000. This range represents the clearing price where remaining supply meets remaining demand after the fractional reserve system has been eliminated through forced liquidation, cash settlements, and panic forfeit. The mathematical certainty is $112,000 per ounce. That is where gold trades when $12 trillion in fraudulent claims are eliminated, and price reflects actual physical availability. From Friday, as close of $4,787 to the stabilized clearing price of $112,000 represents a 291% increase in 60 days. Not over years, over 2 months. The largest wealth transfer in recorded history compressed into 8 weeks. Now let me tell you what this means for your positioning. If you own paper gold in any form, ETFs, unallocated accounts, gold certificates, you have 48 hours to act before markets open Monday and the stampede begins. Sell GLD immediately. Market order, any price. The audit leak proves GLD's custodial gold is held at Federal Reserve facilities operating under fractional reserve. When redemptions spike, GLD will suspend delivery and offer cash settlement at paper prices while physical gold trades at multiples higher. Exit now while you can still get liquid pricing. If you have unallocated gold accounts with major banks, call your representative first thing Monday morning. Demand immediate conversion to allocated storage with specific bar serial numbers. If they refuse, if they delay, if they cite market conditions, close the account and take cash. The audit leak proves unallocated accounts are claims against inventory that doesn't exist. If you trade gold futures, close your positions Monday at market open. Do not try to ride the spike. Do not attempt delivery. When the system breaks, futures will be cash settled at artificial prices while physical gold explodes higher. Take your profit and exit. If you own physical gold, you are about to experience the greatest wealth event in monetary history. If you don't own gold, you have 1 weekend to act. By Monday, the panic begins. Physical dealers will be overwhelmed. Premiums will explode. Delivery times will extend to years. The window closes fast. This is not investment advice. This is mathematics. Cold, brutal, undeniable mathematics. $12.26 trillion in claims. $2.21 billion in backing. 16,563 to 1 leverage. European repatriation demands for 26% of claimed reserves. System cannot function when delivery demand exceeds 0.006%. And actual demand is 26%. Mathematical impossibility cannot persist. Fractional reserve fraud cannot survive transparency. And transparency arrived this morning at 2:23 a.m. Pacific time when a terrified Federal Reserve auditor broke protocol and transmitted the truth. 261.7 million ounces claimed, 47.2 million ounces in vaults, 31.4 million ounces leased out, 15.8 million ounces available for delivery, 16,563 paper claims per deliverable ounce. The numbers don't lie. The system is broken. The reset is guaranteed. And when it happens, when the 16,563 to 1 ratio becomes public knowledge, when European governments demand their gold and cannot get it, when the paper market collapses and physical gold disappears, the price doesn't adjust gradually. It explodes from $4,187 to $112,000 in 60 days, the greatest financial event of our lifetime. The mathematical certainty that starts Monday morning. The audit leaked this morning. The death spiral begins when markets open. The clearing price is $112,000. The timeline is 60 days. You have 1 week into position. After that, the stampede begins, and mathematical certainty becomes financial reality.